Hello everyone, my name is Danny and this is ARC Talk, where I talk about an advanced reader's copy of a book that I received and my impressions of it. To start off, I'd like to give you some of my social media information. I am Danny NNC on Goodreads if you'd like to compare book lists with me, see whether you have anything in common with my reading tastes. I have a blog where I post lengthier book reviews called Average Gal Reads, and I also have a Facebook page for that blog where you would be notified every time I post a new review, and the Facebook page is also called Average Gal Reads. The book I'll be talking about today is called Heart on the Line by Karen Witemeyer. It was published on June 6th, 2017 by Bethany House. If you're familiar with Bethany House or Karen Witemeyer, then you know that means this is a Christian historical romance. And there is also a bit of suspense in the book. It is the second book in a series called The Ladies of Harper Station. However, you don't have to have read the first book or the novella that came after it to enjoy this book if you decide to just dive in and read this book. I'll also be posting, I happen to be a Book Depository affiliate, so I'll be posting my affiliate link that will lead directly to this book. I'll post it in the book description just in case you decide that you want to go ahead and read this book. If you buy it through my link, I'd appreciate it. I have a little bit of a coffee habit that I'd like a few pennies for. Let's go ahead and talk about the book. This book, our hero and heroine are Amos Bledsoe and Grace Mallory. Grace Mallory is a female telegraph operator in 1894, which was not too common during that time, but she apparently was very good at her job. And at the beginning of the book, this is a no spoiler review, by the way, so most of what you hear will be what's in the blurb on Goodreads. I'll try not to reveal more than that. Grace, at the beginning of the book, her father is murdered, and there is a man who is chasing after her as well, so she decides to go into hiding. She decides to move to Harper Station, which is a women's colony of women who decide they'd rather live their lives without men. So a woman is the mayor, she's the town founder, there's a woman who runs the grocery store, you get the idea. So Grace moves there and is the telegraph operator, and even though she is in hiding, she does strike up a friendship, but does her best to stay anonymous and vague, but strikes up a friendship across the telegraph lines with Amos Bledsoe, who is in another town called Denison. And they call each other Miss G and Mr. A. And after months of talking about their lives, Amos summons up the courage that he wants to go meet her. But just as he's starting to broach the subject, a call comes through the line to let Grace know that the man has found her and is on his way to Harper Station. So, of course, Amos hears this and decides now he really must go to find her because her life is in danger. But he is not your average big, strong hero type, so he doesn't know if he'll be able to save her or help her. So that is the premise of the book. I really enjoyed this book. Even though a lot of their conversation, especially in the beginning, is through the dots and dashes of the telegraph line, Witemeyer does a good job of conveying their light banter, not really smart alecky banter, just very very light and fun, but it still has the formality that you expect from the early 1900s. So that was fun to read. The hero, I'm not really up on the lingo that romance readers follow, even though I have been a romance reader for a long time. I'm not really up on the lingo, but I think the hero Amos would be what they call a beta. He is not the big, strong, me man, you woman, get back, I'll take care of it kind of hero. But he that still made him appealing. He rides a bicycle, and when bicycles weren't very common, and he is very intellectual, wears glasses, that sort of thing. So they seem to be a very well matched pair. If it was a modern novel, you would call him the geeky hero or the nerdy hero. So they're a very well matched pair. Since this is a Christian novel, it's what you would call a kisses only novel. There's no heat level, no sexual content in this, but Witemeyer still does a good job within the confines of this genre of conveying the passion that Grace and Amos feel for one another while still keeping it proper. Christian, as I said, since it is a Christian novel or inspirational novel, there is Christian content. Some Christian novels have more Christian content, very preachy, and some have almost, very light on the Christian content. I think this book falls somewhere in the middle, as far as it's not very preachy, but you do see several of the characters in their own inner monologues talking to God or asking God, where God please direct me, praying to themselves, or not a lot of discussions between characters about God. It's more about the character, each individual character communing with God and thinking of Bible verses and what God would have them do and what direction God would have them go in. So I think a secular person would read this and not have a problem with that. I think maybe I can only think of a few people I know who are very staunch atheists that would not want any mention of God whatsoever in their book. But I think most people, even if they're not devout, would be able to read this and not have a problem with it. I also, with my books, I mention in most of my reviews what I like to think of as the Aunty Test, because I have a lot of friends who are more conservative, and they ask for recommendations as far as, they look at what I read and take cues from some of the things they see me posting on Facebook or whatever as to what I have read. I didn't know this at first, but now that I know it, I try to be careful as to, even though I read widely, I know some of them don't. So I'm always careful now that I know that they're watching what I read because they found things that they like off of my list. I am careful to give a caveat of, okay, this book is a little more graphic than the books you've read from me in the past. So I think of now in terms of what I like to call the Aunty Test. So this book, the Aunty Test, is if you're passing this on to your maiden aunt or your grandmother or what have you, would they blush? And this book definitely passes the Aunty Test. This book would definitely be fine for who I would call an Aunt B. If you've ever watched the Andy Griffith Show, Aunt B, definitely nothing in here that would make Aunt B blush, okay? Or Aunt B, as she's called on the show. Nothing in here that would make Aunt B blush. So this is perfect. If you have an Aunt B in your life, this is the perfect book to hand them. And it is a lot of fun. The book is a lot of fun. Even though there is because I mentioned, a murderer is chasing them, so there are tense moments, but there are also lighthearted moments that make the book a lot of fun. And there's also even the side characters are interesting. So even though you can read this book without having read the other books, reading this makes me want to go back and read the other books and spend more time with some of the side characters in this story. And there was also a B-line story with a character named Helen, which I'm not going to give it away, but I have to admit a couple of the scenes with Helen, especially a couple of the early scenes with Helen, were very well written. They weren't the lighthearted scenes, they were more pluck your heartstrings, and a couple of them did make me cry. So, and I don't cry very often when I read a book. I cry a lot when I watch TV. I don't cry a lot when I read books. So the fact that Witemeyer was able to make me cry indicates to me that this is really good writing, and that's why I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars, which I don't often give a book 5 out of 5 stars, but I did this one because even after sleeping on it, I read the book and then I didn't do my review until the next day. I slept on it and I still could not find anything I didn't like about this book. I couldn't find any faults with it, so I give it a 5 out of 5. So again, if you'd like to check out this book, it's out now, and the name is Heart on the Line by Karen Witemeyer, and I hope you join me next time that I do an ARC Talk. Bye-bye.